You've decided your organization needs SOC 2. Now, here's the question that trips up almost every team right after that decision. Do you go straight for the full audit or ease into it first? Get this wrong, and the cost isn't dramatic. It's quiet. Rework, delays, or a finding that shows up in the report right when a customer is reading it. There's no single right path. There are 5 common ones organizations take toward SOC 2, and the right choice depends on 3 things: how ready your controls are, how much time you have, and what your customers are asking for. First, a distinction that shapes everything else. SOC 2 comes in 2 types, and they measure different things. A Type 1 report is a snapshot. An independent CPA firm reviews your policies and controls and issues an opinion on whether they were properly designed as of one specific date. A Type 2 report goes further. The same firm collects evidence, access reviews, incident records, change logs, showing those controls operated consistently over a window of time, usually 3 to 12 months. Type 1 shows you set things up correctly. Type 2 proves you can run it. With that distinction in mind, here are the 5 paths. Path 1, a readiness assessment, followed by Type 1. This fits organizations that need a formal report soon, often because a customer asked for one, but aren't fully confident their controls would hold up under a real audit. A readiness assessment is a structured diagnostic, not a checkbox. It surfaces gaps in policy, inconsistent controls, and weak evidence before an auditor ever looks at them, so you fix issues quietly instead of having them documented in an official report. This path tends to fit smaller teams, or larger ones with real remediation work ahead of them. Path 2, a readiness assessment followed by Type 2. Same logic, aims straight at Type 2. A readiness check before the observation period starts means issues get caught and fixed early, not written into the final report that customers, prospects, and procurement teams will read. For organizations that have never been through an external audit, this is usually the more defensible starting point. Path 3, Type 1, then Type 2. This suits teams that need a report fast and feel confident in their control design. A Type 1 audit can wrap in 4 to 8 weeks, which often solves an immediate deadline on its own. It also forces useful groundwork, documenting policies, mapping controls, that Type 2 requires anyway. Even teams that feel ready to jump straight to Type 2 often still start here, because Type 2 depends less on confidence and more on having time-stamped evidence, and Type 1 helps put that foundation in place first. Path 4, straight to Type 2. This is the path for organizations with a mature, well-documented control environment, at least 3 months before the report is due, and customers who specifically require Type 2. Going straight there avoids paying for 2 audits, and if controls are genuinely ready, the observation period becomes a confirmation process rather than a test. The risk runs the other direction. Organizations that overestimate their readiness and skip the review are the ones most likely to hit findings mid-observation, and reworking controls during an active audit window stretches timelines and weakens the report you end up with. Path 5, Type 1 as the endpoint. Some organizations only need to demonstrate a baseline level of security commitment, and their current customers accept a Type 1 report. That's a legitimate choice for the moment. It's rarely a lasting one. As companies move into larger enterprise accounts, procurement teams that once accepted Type 1 start requiring Type 2, and that shift tends to arrive faster than expected. Treating Type 1 as a permanent strategy instead of a starting point is where this path gets risky. So how do you choose? 3 factors decide it. First, control maturity. Are your controls documented, consistently followed, and backed by evidence? Or were they only recently put in place with no outside review yet? Low maturity points toward a readiness assessment first. High maturity supports going straight to Type 2. Most organizations sit somewhere in between, which is exactly where a readiness assessment earns its value, turning a gut feeling about your controls into a real gap analysis. Second, timeline. A Type 1 audit runs about 4 to 8 weeks. A Type 2 audit needs a minimum 3-month observation period plus fieldwork afterward, so plan on 4 months or more from kickoff to final report. A deadline under 60 days points you toward Type 1 or a readiness assessment. Anything longer opens up every path. Third, what your customers are asking for. We need SOC 2, and we need a Type 2 report before signing are 2 different requirements, and enterprise procurement teams increasingly expect the latter, though not always, and not always urgently. A direct conversation with your prospect's security team usually clarifies what a vague vendor requirement leaves unclear. Here's the pattern behind most SOC 2 problems. Teams choose a path based on the timeline they want rather than the one their control environment can support. Once the audit window opens, you're no longer preparing for it, you're being measured by it. If you want a closer look at what real readiness involves, before you commit to a path, Drummond's SOC 2 Readiness Playbook walks through the process in detail. Download it to see where your organization stands.